The scent of coffee pulled Eliza from sleep before her eyes even opened. Unfamiliar sheets. Unfamiliar room. Unfamiliar shirt that definitely wasn't hers, oversized, soft from countless washes, with a faded band logo she couldn't quite make out in her groggy state. The pounding in her head matched the sudden pounding of her heart as fragments of last night pieced themselves together. The company holiday party. Too many glasses of wine. Her assistant offering to drive her home. Except, this wasn't her home. This was James Parker's home, her quiet, competent employee. The single father who never caused problems, who always stayed late without complaint, who she just promoted last week. And now she was in his guest room, wearing nothing but his shirt. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very end. James stood in his kitchen, one eye on the coffee maker and one on the hallway leading to the guest room. His 7-year-old daughter, Lily, sat at the table, happily munching cereal and chattering about her upcoming school play. He nodded along, trying to focus on her words while his mind raced. His boss, his intimidating, brilliant boss, was asleep in his guest room. The same boss who terrified half the office. The same boss who had unexpectedly championed his promotion despite the board's hesitation about promoting a single father with scheduling constraints. "Daddy, you're not listening," Lily pouted, her spoon clattering against the bowl. "Sorry, sweetheart. I'm just tired." He ruffled her dark curls, so like her mother's. "Tell me more about your costume." As Lily launched back into her detailed description of her tree costume, James heard the guest room door creak open. His stomach dropped to his feet. Eliza stood frozen in the hallway, James's shirt hanging to her knees. She could hear voices, a child's high, excited tones and James's deeper, gentle responses. Of course. His daughter. The one he was raising alone after his wife's death 3 years ago. The one mentioned in hushed, pitying tones around the office. The reason he sometimes had to leave early or arrive late. The reason some of the board members had argued against his promotion, despite his exceptional work. She defended him fiercely in that meeting. His output exceeds everyone else's in his department despite his schedule. Imagine what he could do with more resources and flexibility. Now she was standing in his hallway, half-dressed, hungover, and mortified. She couldn't face a child like this. She couldn't face James like this. What had happened last night? Her memory showed only fragments, James helping her to the car, her insisting she was fine to go home alone, then feeling suddenly ill. "Ms. Reynolds?" James appeared at the end of the hallway, a steaming mug in his hand. His expression was carefully neutral, professional even in this bizarre circumstance. "I thought you might need this." Eliza accepted the coffee with trembling hands. "James, I am so sorry. I don't remember much about last night, but whatever happened?" "Nothing happened," he said quickly, his ears reddening. "You were sick. I couldn't get your address out of you, and your phone was dead. I brought you here because I didn't know what else to do. Your dress was..." He trailed off, looking everywhere but at her. "I gave you a shirt and put you in the guest room. That's all." Relief flooded through her, followed immediately by a different kind of embarrassment. "I've put you in a terrible position. It's fine. Really." His eyes finally met hers, warm brown and sincere. "We all need help sometimes." Something in his gentle acceptance cracked something open inside her, something that had been sealed tight for years. "Daddy, who's that lady?" A small voice piped up as a little girl with wild curls peeked around James's legs. The next hour was a blur of awkward introductions, borrowed sweatpants, and more coffee. Lily, it turned out, was delighted to have a guest for breakfast, especially one who looked like a princess, according to her. Eliza, who had terrified senior executives into tears during budget meetings, found herself completely disarmed by this small child who insisted on showing her every crayon drawing on the refrigerator. "This one's Daddy and me at the beach. This one's our cat Muffin, but he ran away. This one's Mommy in heaven watching us." James winced. "Lily, Ms. Reynolds doesn't need to see all of these." "It's Eliza, please," she said automatically, studying the child's drawing of a woman floating among clouds and stars. "These are beautiful, Lily. You're very talented. Daddy says I get it from Mommy." She painted big pictures that people bought. James was clearing dishes, his movements efficient but tense. "Lily, why don't you go get dressed? We need to leave for school soon." As Lily skipped off, the kitchen fell into uncomfortable silence. "She's wonderful," Eliza said finally. "She's everything." The simple declaration held such weight that Eliza felt it physically. "James, about work. You don't need to explain anything. This doesn't change our professional relationship." His voice was firm, but there was something vulnerable in his eyes. "Actually, it might." Eliza took a deep breath. "Not in the way you're thinking. I've never seen this side of your life. I knew you were a single father, but seeing you with Lily, seeing your home." She gestured around the modest but warm kitchen, with its mismatched chairs and crayon drawings and obvious love. "It makes me realize how little I know about my employees' lives outside the office. How little I've cared to know." James looked surprised. "You don't need to know. That's not your job. Maybe it should be part of it." She set down her mug. "I should go. Can I call a car?" The following Monday at the office was strange. Eliza nodded professionally to James in the hallway, and he returned the gesture with equal formality. No one would have guessed that she'd eaten dinosaur-shaped pancakes at his kitchen table 2 days before. But something had shifted inside her. As she sat through meetings, reviewed reports, and made decisions, she found herself thinking about the people behind the work in a way she never had before. Who had children waiting at home? Who was caring for aging parents? Who had dreams and struggles she knew nothing about? When the quarterly review came around, she made an unprecedented decision. Instead of the usual clinical assessment of numbers and outputs, she scheduled individual meetings with each team member. "I want to understand how we can better support your work-life integration," she told her surprised assistant. "Schedule 30 minutes with everyone." James was last on her list. When he entered her office, his posture was guarded. "Please sit," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. "This isn't about what happened." "Well, not directly." He relaxed slightly. "Okay. I've been thinking about our company culture. About how we talk about valuing our employees but create conditions that force impossible choices." She leaned forward. "You're one of our most valuable team members, James. But I know you're constantly juggling, constantly sacrificing. Either work suffers or Lily suffers or you suffer. It's not sustainable." "I manage," he said, but the fatigue in his eyes told a different story. "You shouldn't have to just manage. None of our employees should." She slid a folder across the desk. "I'm proposing a new flexible work program. Core hours when everyone needs to be available, but otherwise, work where and when you can be most effective. I want you to help me design it." James stared at the folder, then at her. "Why me?" "Because you understand the challenges better than anyone. And because I trust your judgment." The word surprised her as much as him, but she realized they were true. Over the next few months, Eliza and James worked closely on the flexible work initiative. Their initial awkwardness faded as they focused on the project, replaced by a growing mutual respect. James brought practical insights she would never have considered. Eliza provided the executive authority to push changes through resistant departments. Sometimes their meetings ran late and Lily would join them, doing homework at a corner table in Eliza's office while they finalized proposals. The little girl's presence, once unthinkable in the executive suite, became an occasional fixture. "You're good with her," James remarked one evening as they watched Lily carefully coloring a map for her geography project. "She makes it easy," Eliza replied. "She's extraordinary." Like her father, Lily piped up, not looking up from her coloring. "That's what you said on the phone yesterday, Ms. Eliza." "I heard you." James's eyebrows shot up, and Eliza felt heat rush to her face. "I was talking to the board about your father's work on this project," she explained quickly. "He is extraordinary at his job." Lily just smiled knowingly and returned to her coloring. The flexible work program launched to tremendous success. Productivity increased. Retention improved. Other companies began calling, asking how they'd done it. "It's simple," Eliza told a conference room full of industry leaders. "We stopped pretending our employees aren't human beings with full lives outside these walls." In the back of the room, James watched with pride. Their professional relationship had evolved into a friendship neither had expected. He'd seen beyond her intimidating exterior to the thoughtful, driven woman beneath. She'd seen beyond his quiet competence to the devoted father and innovative thinker he was. After the presentation, they walked together toward the parking garage. "Lily asked if you could come to her school play next week," James said casually. "She's still a tree, but now she has a speaking part." Eliza smiled. "I wouldn't miss it." "It's during work hours," he warned. "Good thing we have this amazing flexible work program then." She hesitated. "James, I've been meaning to ask you something." He stopped walking. "Yes?" "That morning, in your kitchen. You said nothing happened the night before." His face flushed slightly. "Nothing did. But something almost did, didn't it?" She held his gaze steadily. "Before I got sick. There was a moment in the car." James looked away. "I didn't think you remembered that." "I didn't, not at first. But pieces have been coming back." She took a deep breath. "I almost kissed you. And I almost let you," he admitted quietly. "But you'd been drinking, and I'm your employee, and it would have been wrong for so many reasons." "And now?" she asked, her heart pounding as it had that morning in his guest room. "Now it's still complicated." His eyes met hers. "But for different reasons." 6 months later, Eliza stood in James's kitchen again, but this time she was wearing her own clothes and making pancakes while Lily instructed her on the proper chocolate chip to batter ratio. "More," Lily insisted, pushing the bag of chocolate chips toward her. "Daddy always puts more." "Your daddy spoils you," Eliza laughed, but added another handful anyway. "That's what Grandma says too." Lily watched the batter sizzle on the griddle. "Are you going to marry my daddy?" Eliza nearly dropped the spatula. "What makes you ask that?" "Because you look at him like the princesses look at princes in my books. And he smiles all the time now. And you're here every weekend." "It's complicated, Lily. Grown-ups always say that when they don't want to answer." Lily sighed dramatically. "I think you should. Then you could live here and make pancakes every day." "Is that so?" James's voice came from the doorway, his hair still damp from his shower. Lily nodded emphatically. "I told Ms. Eliza she should marry you." James's eyes met Eliza's over his daughter's head. "Did you now? And what did Ms. Eliza say?" "That it's complicated." Lily rolled her eyes. "But I don't think it is. You love her, she loves you, and I love both of you. That's simple." Eliza felt tears prick her eyes at the child's straightforward assessment. The past 6 months had changed her life in ways she never could have imagined that morning she woke up in James's guest room. Their relationship had evolved slowly, carefully, with professional boundaries maintained at work and a growing personal connection outside it. James crossed the kitchen and took the spatula from her hand. "Lily, why don't you go set the table?" When his daughter had left, he turned to Eliza. "She's not wrong, you know. About me loving you." Eliza's breath caught. They hadn't said those words yet, though she'd felt them growing for months. "James. You don't have to say anything. I know this isn't what you planned. A ready-made family. Office complications. It's a lot to take on." "It is," she agreed. "But it's also the most real thing I've ever had." She took his hands in hers. "I love you too. Both of you. And that's not complicated at all." 1 year to the day after Eliza had woken up in James's guest room, they stood together in his backyard, now their backyard, surrounded by friends, family, and co-workers. Lily danced between them in a flower girl dress, her curls crowned with daisies. The company had thrived under their joint initiative. Eliza had eventually promoted James to co-director of operations, reporting to another executive to avoid direct conflict of interest. Their story had become something of a legend in the office, though the version that circulated involved far more drama and far less morning after awkwardness than the reality. "Ready?" James whispered as the music began. Eliza squeezed his hand. "I've been ready since I woke up wearing your shirt." As they walked together toward their future, Eliza reflected on how a single embarrassing morning had changed everything, had opened her eyes to what really mattered, had shown her that strength came in many forms, and that sometimes the most important business decisions were the ones that recognized the humanity in everyone. And as Lily skipped ahead of them, tossing flower petals with abandon, Eliza knew that some mistakes weren't mistakes at all, but beginnings in disguise. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that remind us how unexpected moments can change our lives forever. Sometimes the most beautiful journeys begin with awkward awakenings, and sometimes the family we need finds us when we least expect it.